Good morning, this is Bob Mason from FX Empire and welcome to the daily crypto tech review of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin and Ripple's XRP. We're looking at the MACDs, the moving averages and the day's support, resistance and pivot levels. It is Tuesday, the 12th of January. Jumping straight into Bitcoin against the US dollar, looking at the hourly candlesticks, going to need to see Bitcoin avoid a fallback through the pivot at 34,733 to take a run at the first major resistance level, sitting at 38,912. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Bitcoin to break back through to 38,000 levels, however. So barring an extended crypto rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 40,000 to limit any upside. In the event of a rebound, should see Bitcoin test resistance at 42,000 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 42,415. A fallback through the pivot level would bring the 23.6% fib at 33,000 and the first major support level at 31,270 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Bitcoin should avoid sub 30,000 levels and the 38.2% fib at 27,465. Second major support level sits at 27,131. Looking at the MACD, we've got a widening of the bullish histogram suggestive of a recovery from the early morning loss, so I need to keep an eye on that through the morning. On the EMA, the 50 has pulled back from the 100 and narrowed in on the 200, suggestive of further downside through the morning. So key through the early part of the day would be to avoid the pivot at 34,733 and break back through to 38,000 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels are in play. Moving across to Ethereum against the US dollar, also bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Ethereum move back through the pivot at 1085 to bring the first major resistance level at 1264 into play. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Ethereum to break back through to 1200 levels, however. So barring an extended crypto rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, could see Ethereum test resistance at 1350 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 1440. Failure to move through the pivot would bring the 23.6% fib at 1051 and the first major support level at 909 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ethereum should avoid that second major support level at 729. The 38.2% fib at 866 should limit any downside. Looking at the MACD, we've got a slight widening of the bullish histogram this morning, supporting a possible recovery through the morning. On the EMA, however, we are seeing the 50 also pull back from the 100 and narrow in on the 200, supporting the early morning fall. So key through the early part of the day would be to move back through the pivot at 1085 and back through to 1200 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels are in play. Moving across to Litecoin against the US dollar, it's a bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Litecoin move through the pivot at 140 and break through the 23.6% fib at 148 to bring the first major resistance level at 170 into play. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Litecoin to break back through to 160s. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect the 23.6% fib and resistance at 150 to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, that first major resistance level at 170 should limit any upside on the day. Failure to move through the pivot at 140 would bring the 38.2% fib at 125 and the first major support level at 110 into play. Barring another extended sell-off on the day, Litecoin should avoid sub 100 levels and the 62% fib at 87. The second major support level sits at 81. Looking at the MACD, slight widening of the bullish histogram, suggestive of some upside through the morning. So I need to keep an eye on that because on the EMAs, we're seeing the 50 pull back from the 100 and the 200 and the 100 close in on the 200, suggestive of further downside through the morning. So keep through the early part of the day, move through the pivot at 140 and break through the 23.6% fib at 148 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels are in play. Finally, looking at Ripple's XRP against US dollar, bearish start to the morning. Going to need to see Ripple's XRP avoid a fallback through the pivot at 0.2857 to take a run at the 23.6% fib at 0.3172 and the first major resistance level at 0.3180. Going to see support from the broader market for Ripple's XRP to break back through to 0.30 levels. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect the first major resistance level and the 23.6% fib to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, expect resistance at 0.33 to come into play before any pullback. A fall through the pivot would bring the first major support level at 0.2555 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ripple's XRP should avoid the second major support level at 0.2231. Looking at the MACD, we've got a slight widening of the bullish histogram, suggestive of some upside through the morning. On the EMAs, however, we are seeing the 50 pull back marginally from the 100 and narrow in on the 200, suggestive of further downside through the morning. So key through the early part of the day would be to avoid a fallback through the pivot at 0.2857 and break back through to 0.30 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels are in play.